Good morning, everyone. My name is Luke, as if you do not know me already, and I am your pianist for today. And we are going to start with two hymns. Hymn number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross Us Door, followed by hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This earth, all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and through these sheltering walls are thin. May they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you, Luke. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to UUCC. My name is Pat Fuhr, and I'm very happy to be your lay leader today. Welcome to all of you in the sanctuary and to those who are at home joining us via Zoom or YouTube. And a special welcome to our visitors this morning. Are you curious about our UU faith? Well, we encourage your questions, and we have literature in the entrance as well as in the community room. And please stick around for coffee and conversation after the service. For those joining remotely, we encourage you to attend the Zoom coffee hour following the service. Now, images of the congregation may be shared on social media. If you don't wish to be seen on social media, there are seats available at the back of the sanctuary. Please refrain from talking while we are live, as the house microphones may pick up your conversation and then broadcast it to the wider community. And switching your cell phones to airplane mode or turning them off will avoid streaming disruptions. The Little Brick Church on Shaver Road in Portage with the rainbow flag and the Black Lives Matter banner is our home. We sit on the ancestral lands of the Peoria and the Potawatomi peoples, and we pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. We believe that love is love, and it is our responsibility to dismantle white supremacy and build a beloved community that benefits all of us. Our spiritual journeys are diverse, our community is compassionate, inclusive, and united by love. Today, Harold Boy, a retired UU minister and member of our congregation, will speak on the importance of focusing on what matters most. And after this week's election, it's a very appropriate topic. To learn more about our church, including our programs for children and youth, and other opportunities to connect with us during the week, visit our website, uucommunitychurch.org. And a special thanks to everyone who's helping to make this morning's service possible. Our tech team, our coffee hosts, our soup chefs, our greeters, and you. Today is kind of a super soup Sunday because we have program council, so please, stay for coffee hour, and then you can also have some soup. I have a few announcements. Eric Nelson's next drop-in mindful living session is on Monday, November the 11th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. All are welcome to join for an hour of mindfulness practice and discussion. So visit our website for login information. And Eric will also be hosting an autumn mindfulness retreat on Saturday, November the 16th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at the UUCC. Participants will explore body awareness through gentle chair yoga, walking meditation, and compassion and mindfulness practices to support joy, equanimity, and self-healing. Spaces are limited, so visit our website to register today. Next Sunday, November 17th, is our annual bread communion, so please bring a loaf of your favorite bread to share. And now, before we light the chalice, just a few words from Douglas John Traversa. In a world filled with darkness of ignorance, let us bring the light of reason. In a world filled with the darkness of despair, may we share the light of hope. In a world filled with the darkness of hate, let us shine the light of love. And now we will light the chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
Well, if you please join me in the responsive reading number 660 in the hymnal by Henry David Thoreau. I can wait. So I read the plain text and you read the italicized text. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life? I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear. I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. If it proves to be mean, then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world. You know, when he says mean, he doesn't mean like hateful in that case. It's like, how should I say, the means by which we live by. Not to be confused. So, if you please join me in musical reflection number 219 in our hymnal. And Luke, will you play it through once, and then we'll sing it. This is in a minor key. It's written by a rabbi, and Jews love minor key because they love sadness. I'm part Jewish myself. I love the sadness. One of the reasons I love Brahms, because he's sad. 219. Oh, hear my people, hear me well. I have no need for sacrifice, but mercy, loving kindness shall alone for life, for good suffice. Then source of peace, lead us to peace, a place profound and wholly true, and lead us to a mastery, or drives in us that Lord pursue. May deeds we do inscribe our names as blessings in the book of life. O source of peace, lead us to heal. O source of peace, lead us from strife. You might think I'm wrong. That's not a minor key, is it, Luke? No. Oh, well. Can't get everything right. So this is about what matters most, and it is in response to the election that we just had, and also G. I'll talk about G in a little bit. But I had these two cartoons from the New Yorker, which seemed to be apropos. I don't have them up there. Oh, can you go back one? Number one? Yeah. No, that's not it. Well, we'll get to it when I get to it. But you see a man and a woman walking down the city street in New York, and they're being by charging rhinoceroses. Is that the plural, rhinoceros? Rhinoceroses? Anyway, you see them charging. There's 3 of them. And then the man says to the woman, I don't want to know. My stress level is high enough already. As it is. And the other, you see a woman all bundled up like a papoose sitting on the couch. And, apparently husband and wife. And so the woman says, this dissociative state is self-care. She's a dissociative, anyway. So, before we begin, can I move this? Yeah. Well, what happened to it? Huh. Well, it's not there. I'll tell you about it. Some people may be wondering about talking about politics from the pulpit, and you may think that's not allowed. And first of all, having been a political scientist, my undergraduate at Ohio State was political science. And the way I see politics, it's about, politics is about power. And there's politics in all relationships, including churches, even in marriages. Politics is about who makes the decisions, how the benefits and the debts, punishments are meted out. So there's politics in everything. It's about power. And power is a very important concept. It's like fire. It can be used for good and it can be used for evil. And I like to say my mission in life is to check the power of the powerful when they misuse their power and to empower the powerless. So what I was going to have up there was probably what some of you might be thinking. It's what's called the Johnson Rule. Have any of you heard the Johnson Rule? Well, it's made in 1954 when Lyndon Johnson was the majority leader of the Senate. And it's a provision to the tax code. And it's about the idea that nonprofits, not just churches, cannot do campaigning, or certainly raising money for candidates and have their tax-exempt status. I, for one, think there shouldn't be any tax. Well, maybe if I, for one, believe that there shouldn't be any tax exempt. I mean, thinking of churches, that goes back to the establishment era, primarily in New England, where citizens of a town had to pay taxes to support a church. So we got beyond that. But I think even universities and charities should not have a tax exempt. If the people, as represented in Congress, believe these organizations should have a special benefit, then they should get grants. Universities should get grants. It shouldn't be, tax exempt. And we shouldn't have deductions. If people want to donate to the church, it shouldn't be deducted, in my opinion. So that's just my spiel. I have a whole thing about taxation. Anyway, Wednesday, I got a call from our minister, Reverend G. Ludwig McCartney, no relationship to Paul. She had asked me to do a favor, and she was calling from Los Angeles shortly before she was going to do another surgery for her cerebral spinal fluid leak. And this has been a struggle for her for I don't know how many years now. Does anybody know when this all started? About 5 years or more. And she's had numerous operations, in particular by the specialist in Los Angeles, who's like one of the few surgeons that can do it. But this particular surgery, it's a blood patch, is not the same as actually sewing up like it was in the past. So they're hoping it will work. She called me up, and she sounded tired, naturally, because it was right before surgery. But her voice was in distress. And she asked me a favor to host a Zoom meeting for members of our church. so that they could share their thoughts and feelings about the election. Because she believed that many, if not most of us, were distressed about it. I certainly was. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge that not everybody of us necessarily believes that. And there are those who have supported Donald Trump, but we still love them, right? And I like to say I'm more of a universalist than Unitarian, because the universalists believe God is love. And when we merged in '61, the universalists were the ones that were Christians still more, and the Unitarians were more humanistic. But I want to read from the hymn note 705. It's by Hosea Ballou, who's one of the founders of the Universalist Church in America. He said, "If we agree in love, there's no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace." Beautiful thought. But I do want to speak to those of you who were distressed about the election. And I want to read this letter from G, Reverend G. That was yesterday. And she was flying home yesterday, so I assume she's home now. Has anybody had contact with her? No? Okay. Anyway, she said, "I'm uncertain of most everything." How many of you read this in Facebook? You know, I don't use Facebook very much. I do when because that's one way I can. My wife uses it all the time. Anyway, I'm uncertain of most everything. I still don't know if the blood patch worked. If it didn't, we're coming back in a couple of months, which is distressing. The world is definitely different. We got here before the elections, and nothing makes sense anymore. Life is going to get hard and cruel, not just for those of us who didn't vote for him, for all of us. I always caution against tribalism, and now I think we need to stick together. Hold on to our humanity, the good in us, our capacity for decency, even in the face of unbridled cruelty. I don't know how we will emerge on the other side. All of us won't. May the rest of grow stronger than we thought possible. May we fan the twinkle of love, decency, and compassion to a flaming roar. Hello, my friends, I need help. Well, then she talked about a request for a GoFundMe. Some of you may look into that, because it's very expensive what she does. Insurance takes care of like the surgery, but it doesn't take care of the travel and the living arrangements in Los Angeles. You can imagine how expensive that can be. And she's been doing this for a long time. But anyway, so that first part of the letter is about her distress. And we talked about how, what we thought Trump may bring us, and I'll talk about two issues in particular. One is immigration, and the other is about the use of the military. And there's so many other issues that I could talk about, but those particular really stand out for me. And I said, talking about what he's planning to do, and particularly with the military, making military use for people to demonstrate they become the enemy of the people, enemy of the state. I mean, that's really frightening. And I said, gee, this kind of reminds me of Nicolae Ceausescu, who was a brutal, ugly dictator of Romania when G was growing up in Romania. And she said something interesting. She said Trump is worse. And the reason or could be worse, maybe that's better to say, is because he has all these resources. He can do damage not only to our own country, he can do damage around the world. Very easy for a president to do that. Ceausescu was the Secretary General of the Romanian Communist Party, which meant he was the leader of Romania. And he could do damage in Romania, but not outside of Romania. And even within Romania, it's not like it's a really very wealthy country. So he is limited to some degree. But still, he was a brutal, ugly dictator, and the people took him over and they killed him. The people killed him. How many of you know that story about Ceausescu? Yeah. So that's what she said. So I decided, I agreed. I agreed to do this. I was thinking maybe it could help me as much as the people that have come to the meeting. Oops. And I don't have all the answers, even any, I suppose. I don't know. I'm searching. So we had originally Freya back there. Hi, Freya. And then Stephanie. I don't see Stephanie. Oh, there you are. And then Patricia's not here, is she? Patricia Tin. Anyway, so Freya, Stephanie, Patricia, and myself. And I thought we had a fruitful conversation. I don't know if we assuaged our anxiety, but I felt it was good for us to really talk. And I think that's a really good thing for all of us to do, to share with one another. If you're distressed about these things, to support one another. And I'll get into that later about our commitment as a church community. But in the beginning of our meeting, Freya shared this drawing, and it really hit home for me. Statue of Liberty crying. You know, the Statue of Liberty represents our finest aspirations and ideals as a nation, that we're open to people, that we respect diversity, we respect all kinds of people, and we're really reaching out to people that are struggling, that are hurting. That's what that represents, and now she's crying. This beautiful symbol of America. And I say it's ironic that President Biden was harshly criticized for extricating ourselves from Afghanistan, the longest war in American history, some 20 years. Isn't that amazing? We're there for 20 years. And he was criticized. And, you know, the majority of people believe that we should have gotten out maybe a long time ago. But he was criticized for the way it was handled. In particular, that they didn't get all the refugees out that have helped us when we're there, in particular the translators, whose lives would be in jeopardy when the Taliban take over. He did bring over 150,000 refugees, but there were far more of them left behind. And it's ironic because President Trump was going to leave earlier, and he was going to give Taliban all the power. And in terms of refugees, he had as his person that handles immigration a man called Stephen Miller. You all know who Stephen Miller is? Yeah. It's interesting, he grew up in Santa Monica, and I was an intern minister in Santa Monica. And Santa Monica is probably the most liberal city in California, save for Berkeley. It really is. And he grew up in a school that was very near where I stayed, high school, Santa Monica High School. And he was by himself in his politics. And he caught hell for being cruel to a black janitor, actually. Not a very nice man, actually. But his belief about immigration is that nobody should come into this country except for very few, and they had to be the right people. And that's certainly not the Afghans. He wouldn't allow Afghans. So a reporter asked him what he understood about this statue and about the plaque at the base of the statue with the poem by Emma Lazarus. And I'm sure many of you know this, right? And the words are, "Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lit my lamp beside the golden door." Anyway, so Miller responded to the reporter with these words. "I don't want to get off into the whole thing about history here, but the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty enlightening the world. It's a symbol of American liberty lighting the world. The poem that you're referring to was added later. It's not exactly a part of the original Statue of Liberty." And I find this attitude amazing because he's Jewish. And I want to get into my own kind of personal story here. But actually, Lazarus' contribution was made by the fundraiser William Maxwell Everts, who funded the statue. And initially she refused, but the writer Constant Carey Harrison convinced her that the statue would be of great significance to immigrants sailing into the harbor. Lazarus was involved in aiding Jewish refugees to New York who had fled anti-Semitic pogroms in Eastern Europe, and she saw a way to express her empathy for those refugees in terms of the statue. So that's what it represents. I don't know what Miller's thinking about. I mean, it was added later, but it really reflects what the French had in mind. They actually, originally, the idea in the late 19th century was to honor the United States, who won the Civil War and ended slavery. And so they did want to make, finally, the United States a beacon of freedom after slavery was gotten rid of. So I want to read to you his uncle, who is the sister of Stephen Miller's mother. The uncle is Glosser. Dr. Glosser is a neurosurgeon. And he said this: "I have watched with dismay increasing horror as my nephew and immigration policies that repudiate the very foundation of our family's life in this country. I shudder at the thought of what have become of the Glossers." That's his grandmother's side of the family, his mother's side of the family. Had the same policies Stephen so coolly espouses: the travel ban, the radical decrease of refugees, the separation of children from their parents, even talk of limiting citizenship for legal immigrants. That they became in effect when his family made their desperate bid for freedom. Yeah, he said more, but I want to talk about my personal response, and it's about my grandmother, who was Austrian Jew. That would make my dad a Jew. That's the one thing that makes you a Jew if your mother is a Jew. You can be an atheist and be a Jew, but the one thing that makes you a Jew is your mother is Jewish. And my grandmother lost 3 siblings in the Holocaust. So she came to this country, it was in Ellis Island in 1923, with her 2-year-old child, my father, Carl. If she had come a year later, she'd probably be turned away because in 1924, a draconian immigration bill was passed that would not allow Jews, almost all Jews, not to come into this country. And she very well might have been sent back and suffer from the Holocaust that happened some 18 or 19 years later. So we can note that Trump is talking about mass deportation. Just an incredible idea. Talking about 12 million undocumented workers. And can you imagine what that would do to the economy? What it would do to our food prices? What it would do to our psyche as a nation? How it would disrupt families and make things chaotic. And yet he wants to do this, apparently. And Stephanie and Patricia and Fry and I agreed, that he's proposing things that are just really radical. Unlike any president we've had, what he's proposing. We don't know what he'll be able to achieve. That we don't know. But it's important for us, like I said, when the powerful misuse their power, that we check their power, that we do everything in our power to resist the evil in the world, even if it comes from our own president. So, then we showed this next slide, next picture. Wait a minute. Am I not doing it right? Maybe it's not on. Is it on? Can you move it forward? There you go. Because I said the crying Statue of Liberty reminded me of this cartoon for many of us, not you, or you, or Kimberly, or Joel. But many of us, we remember the day that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Remember as if it was yesterday. I mean, I remember I was in study hall. It was my senior year in high school. It was a Friday. And we go home, and all Saturday, our eyes glued to the TV. That's when TV kind of took over our lives in a lot of ways. And then Sunday, we went to church, and our minister, Jay Chitsey, decided to say, I don't know what to say to you. I don't have the answers like I'm doing today, right? And then he opened it up to the congregation to share their thoughts and feelings. And I thought that was really interesting. And apparently other churches didn't do that. But this is Bill Mauldin's cartoon. Bill Mauldin was famous for doing cartoons of GIs, ordinary GIs during World War II and the Korean War. He was very sympathetic to the GIs, much less so to the officers. But this is what struck him when Kennedy was killed, and it was a shock to our system. And so what Freya and Stephanie and Patricia and I acknowledged that we have been wounded and we need to heal. And there's two ways of doing that, in my opinion. One is through action, and the other is through community. Now, action, I refer to the psychologist, he was a professor of psychology at University of Kansas, named C.R. Snyder, who wrote a book, The Psychology of Hope. And he talked about hopeful living involves two aspects, and one is willpower, and the other is way power. Notice the word power. And willpower is that idea, the belief that you can do it, you have a cause, you can go for it, but you don't have a way to get there. And the way power is, you make lists and you organize and, just very, whatever. I'm not like that. But what he said is you need both. If you have the willpower without the way power, you may, have a desire to go for a goal, but you don't have a way to get there. The way power needs that fire in the belly, needs that enthusiasm to carry you forward. And so that is the main antidote to depression and despair. We can have all kinds of emotions. We could have fear and anger or confusion, but it's despair and depression that we must counteract. And we must realize that we're alive, we're here, and we can live. We can live deliberately, like Thoreau suggests. We can just be in the moment and do the best that we can, right? So, let's go on. Yeah, and what can we do as a community? And as you see, this, what they call a word cloud. Are you familiar with the word cloud? And Miriam made this shirt. This is our shirt. How many of you have this shirt? Oh, good. This is not exactly the same as this. I couldn't find this one, but it's very close, with love and justice. But the one thing this has is they have this word right there, do. And that is what's important. It's action. It's doing something as a community. What are we as Unitarian Universalists? We're a community that comes together, and these values are important to us. And when I wear this, like when I go to the vigil I do every Sunday, people wonder about this, and this reflects our religion. I was brought up as a Unitarian Universalist, and one of the downsides of that is that it's very confusing to be a Unitarian Universalist. I mean, you know how hard it was for me to talk to my friends about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, talking about God and Jesus and Mary and Joseph and, and Moses and Isaac. I mean, just really confusing. I mean, don't you have that problem? You talk about, how many, maybe you don't identify yourself as Unitarian Universalist, I don't know. But it's not easy. And it really is not good for somebody like me who's ADD, because I have a tendency to just wander and, be all over the place, and all those values are important to me, But on the other hand, I really appreciate this in this shirt, because it doesn't make us into a label. It doesn't make us into a doctrine that we must abide by. It makes us living, alive, moving, and that it's hard to say who we are, what we are, because that's what life is. Life is not a label, and it really troubles me that our new president is somebody who likes to use labels, call people names, like Sleepy Joe or Crooked Hillary or whatever. Just a lot of negative labels. And frankly, they don't mean anything. They don't mean a twit. They're just mean and stupid, because it doesn't mean anything. He doesn't say what they're doing. He doesn't describe what they're about, what they believe. He just does a label. And you know what that is? That's infantile. That's what, even before kindergarten, that's what kids do. They call each other names. One of the bête noirs for me, of course, as you know, I have real concerns about what's happening in Gaza. And if people criticize Israel, they call you anti-Semitic. You know how that burns me? That enrages me. I mean, it's like we want all the Jews to go into crematoriums in America, or we want to have a mass deportation like Trump would do of all the Jews. Is that what anti-Semitic means? Actually, I love the Israeli Jews as much as the Palestinians. I want them to have a good life, and I think they're suffering because of what they're doing. And one thing about oppressors, they don't have in their lives love and joy. They can dominate and feel powerful that way, but they don't have love and joy in their lives. And I'm really concerned about them, but of course I'm very concerned about the people in Gaza and now the people in Lebanon and Iran. It's just really sad, a sad situation. So this represents our religion. And I think it's a good representation. So I wanted to get to a little bit about the history of our chalice. I don't know if many of you know the history of our chalice. Any of you know about the history? A little bit, Kimberly? Yeah, Dawn? It goes back to the early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, when the war had begun, but the United States had not entered the war yet. World War II, I'm talking about. And we had what was then the Unitarian Service Committee, which preceded the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And this Hans Deutsch decided to create this symbol, and it was meant to be like an official stamp for the service committee. It was just a stamp. And he so admired being a refugee. He admired what the service committee was doing to the people that were involved. Were Martha and Wace still Sharp. He was a minister, amazing people who would go to Eastern Europe to save Jews. And actually, there was a story about Martha. She was almost captured by the Gestapo. And if she were, she'd probably be executed. But there's a movie that Ken Burns did of this couple. I don't know, any of you seen that movie? Anyway, so they represent the best of our denomination. And what made them move is their commitment. They had a cause, and then they had a plan. So they had hopeful behavior. I wanted to share with you my second thing, a big concern. I'm sure many of you recognize this guy, right? I miss him. That's Ronnie Chung, who was our piano player a while back. I think it was 10 years now. I had lunch with Ronnie a few weeks ago. He teaches at Crescendo downtown in the Epic building. I just want to find out how he's doing. Now, he was, as many of you know, from Myanmar. There's Myanmar right there. And Myanmar has a fraught history since it became independent. Back in 1947, there was a colony of Great Britain. Like so many other colonies of Great Britain, it didn't do well. A lot of strife. And Aung San was the leader that led to the separation. Here is, oops, I thought I had it. Didn't I have a timeline? No, I guess not. Well, I had a timeline. Anyway, years later, his daughter, Aung San Suu Kyi, became the leader of the democracy movement. And there's some issues with her concerning the Rohingya. She supported the oppression of the Rohingya, which is too bad. But she created, for a short period of time, they had democracy with her party in charge. And Ronnie went back, and he really was hopeful because things were so much better. It wasn't just that they felt oppressed, but things were working better. Electricity was working better. The water was working better. The roads were being fixed. But then in 2021, there was another coup, military coup, and he went back again, and he was really depressed because of what the military has done to the country. And what he said is, people hate the military, but they're afraid to speak up. And that's what I'm concerned about. Donald Trump talks about using the military to go after the enemy of the people, people who demonstrate, people who oppose his policies. And he can make us very afraid. And when that happens, we very well might want to be silent. And I beg you not to fall into that. Speak up, because that's what dictators do. They make you shut up. Don't do that. Speak up. And I want to close with this book, and that's in German. Anyone read German? Okay, David, what's it say? Well, it's this guy right here. It's man's search for meaning. I have this in English. Viktor Frankl, amazing man. And he can show us how it is to survive the worst of times. I mean, I think it's important for us to have a perspective. Some people had it far worse than we do. And he lived in concentration camps, mostly work camps, probably Dachau, because he didn't end up in Auschwitz, which was a death camp. But I want to read to you from this book, and this is Gordon Allport, who's a famous psychologist and author, speaking about Frankl. Dr. Frankl, author, psychiatrist, sometimes asks his patients who suffer from a multitude of torments, great and small, why do you not commit suicide? Interesting question, right? You come and you have these terrible complaints and so on. He said, well, why don't you commit suicide? And from their answers, he can often find the guideline for his psychotherapy. In one life, there's the love of one's children. So focus on that. Children to tie to. Another life, a talent to be used. And a third, perhaps only lingering memories worth preserving. To weave these slender threads of broken life into firm pattern of meaning responsibilities, the object and challenge of logotherapy, which is Frankl's own version of modern existential analysis. And logo means meaning. I mean, we have in John, the beginning was the word, but actually the word is logos in Greek, and it means meaning. In the beginning, there was meaning. And what he says is, as long as you have meaning in your life, you can have a good life. In this book, Dr. Frankl explains the experience which led to his discovery of logotherapy. As a longtime prisoner in bistro concentration camps, he found himself stripped to naked existence. His father, mother, brother, and his wife died in camps and were sent to gas ovens so that, excepting for his sister, his entire family perished in these camps. How could he, every possession lost, every value destroyed, suffering from hunger, cold, and brutality, hourly expecting extermination, how could he find life worth preserving? A psychiatrist who personally has faced such extremity is a psychiatrist worth listening to. He, if anyone, should be able to view the human condition wisely and with compassion. And he lived a good long life. He was 93 when he died. It's amazing that he survived the Holocaust. But I want to read, where did I put that? I just had it here, didn't I? Wait a minute, here it is. I want to do a reading about what he discovered that was the essence of life. And he talked about people that were sensitive people and even had slight physiques and so on, were able to survive because they had strong inner strength as compared to the more robust people who often suffered because they didn't have that strong inner life. And he talked about his own experience with that they were out before dawn. It was cold. They were working hard. They were emaciated. Their skin and bones. Their clothes were in tatters. And the guards were butting them with rifles and all that stuff. And so they're going in the darkness, stumbling. And one man said to him, "If our wives could see us now, I do hope they're better off in their camps and don't know what is happening to us." And then this is what Franco said. That brought thoughts of my own wife to mind. As we stumbled on for miles, slipping on icy spots, supporting each other time and again, dragging one another up and onward, nothing was said, but we both knew, each of us thinking of his wife. Occasionally I looked at the sky where the stars were fading and the pink light of morning was beginning to spread behind a dark bank of clouds. But my mind clung to my wife's image, imagining it with an uncanny acuteness. I heard her answering me, saw her smile, her frank and encouraging look. Real or not, her look was then more luminous than the sun, which was beginning to rise. A thought transfixed me. For the first time in my life, I saw the truth as it's set into song by so many poets, proclaimed as the final wisdom by so many thinkers. The truth that love is the ultimate and highest goal to which man can aspire. Then I grasped the meaning of the greatest secret that human poetry and human thought and belief had in part. The salvation of man is through love and in love. So we are a community and we value our connection to one another. I invite you, if you're stressed, to talk to one another. I invite you to think about acting, about making plans, work on the things that you love, that you enjoy, like playing piano. I wish I could. And I just want to close with the thought that I hope I fulfilled my role that G asked me to do, in my role to be here now with you all. I really do care about you all, and I just hope that you be reminded that in love, no disagreement will separate us. So be it. So will you please join us in the closing hymn? Abide with me, number 101. What? Offering. Oh, yeah. Of course. This is the really important part of it. Do you do it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for those words of wisdom, and I know we can all take them to heart. Your contributions are a tangible commitment to the mission and the vision of UUCC. Each time you give, you renew this commitment. Your support is entwined with all that we believe and all that we do here together. There are a few ways to give. You may mail a check to our building. You may give electronically through the church website, using the Vanco app on a smartphone or a tablet, or you can place your offering in the basket as the ushers pass them around.
Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, still with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close ebbs out the little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changes not, abide with me. come still if thou abide with me.
Before we extinguish the chalice, I have some words from Kevin Yago. When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the light turns amber like a sunset. Still, it provides light. Still, it provides heat. Still, it can kindle new flame and pass its glow on and contribute to new illumination. When sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transforms all, when the candle dims, all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true, like candlelight, ready to spark again. All is not lost. And now we will extinguish the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I decided for closing words what we close every Sunday at my church in Columbus, Ohio, Unitarian Universalist Church in Columbus, Ohio. And it's a doxology. And some of you will recognize it probably coming from Christian. Any Presbyterians here? Yeah. And the Christian doxology, the other denominations. But we had our own words by Isaac Watts. And I was with my friend Dan Smith. There was a canvassing. So I started singing it. And then he starts singing the Christian doxology. But this is what we sang every Sunday. From all that dwell below the skies, let hope and faith, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land, by every tongue. So be it. Is that Unitarian Universalist? Yeah, okay. What's the Christian one? Oh, praise God. Holy Ghost, the Son and oh. Thank you all. Are we off? Oh, the postlude. Sorry.